Here are some problems from the homework assignment 17.1, 17.2, and 17.3. The way the questions are worded is a little confusing, so I took those exact problems and I just changed the numbers to show you how to do these questions and what is expected of you. So this slide is from 17.1. We have a pay stub here for Sam Brown. His total earnings are $400, and these are his payroll taxes. Everything on the paycheck is considered a payroll tax. Federal, state income, and other taxes. And it does not show his total taxes or his pay after taxes. We're gonna work that out. So, the first question is, write an equation to show how to calculate the total amount Sam pays in payroll tax. Well, Sam's payroll tax is right here. It's all the taxes taken out of his paycheck. So, to find that total, I would need to just add these three. So the first part of the equation is just adding these three numbers. So, 56.25 plus $12.12 plus $6.45. And I'm going to go to the side here and just add those together. 56.25, 12.12, and 6.45. I'm going to add these together. 5 plus 2 plus 5 is 12. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. And then my decimal point goes here. Remember, when you add up anything with a decimal in it, you have to line up the decimals. So the pennies are being added with other pennies, the dimes are being added with other dimes, the dollars are being added with dollars, and we're not mixing those up. 6 plus 6 is, I'm in the ones place now, the dollars. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 2 is 14. 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So $74.82 is how much, I'm running out of room a little bit, but is how much Sam pays in payroll taxes. And that is what they mean when they say write down an equation that shows how to calculate it. So we've calculated that. Now the next question says, use your solution in exercise 1 to write an equation, so we're writing another equation, to calculate Sam's pay after taxes if his total earnings are $400. So now we need to figure out what goes here. We know this total, we know this total. So this is, it says total earnings, but the official name for it is gross income. And it's the money that you make before taxes are taken out. Of course, these are the payroll taxes right here. And this part here is what you actually take home. That is your net income. So what they're asking us to calculate the net income. So to do that, we start out with our $400, and then we subtract our taxes, which we found up here, $74.82. And we're going to do that. Now, one thing that I still see a few people doing is they will line up these numbers like this. 74.82 minus 400, like that. But the problem with this is that this is 82 cents, okay? We need to line up the pennies in this amount with the pennies in this amount. This is the ones and tens place. We don't see pennies in there. We see dollars, $1 bills, $5 bills, $10 bills. So the trick is that you need to line up the decimal points. Now, 400 does not have a decimal in it, so whenever there's a whole number, you put a decimal after it, and then you can just put zeros after that. So now this is $400.00. I'm subtracting $74.82 from that. So I can't take 2 from 0, so I go all the way over here, and I borrow from the 4, and the numbers all the zeros on the way back become 9s, and this becomes a 10. So now I have 10 minus 2 is 8, 9 minus 8 is 1, and then I copy my decimal point from my problem. 9 minus 4 is 5, 9 minus 7 is 2, 3 minus nothing is 3. So the other side of that equation is my pay after taxes, or my net income, in other words, and that is $325.18. So for number 3, it asks us to explain how you can calculate the total earnings if you know the payroll tax and the pay after taxes. So the pay after taxes is $325.18. And we know, so they're saying if you know this amount and you know this amount, what they're saying is, if you know the pay after taxes and you know what the taxes are, how can you figure this out? Well, the way you would do it is you would just add your payroll, or you would add your net income, which is what you get after taxes, with the taxes, and then you'll get your money before taxes, which is up here. And so that's how you would do that. Moving on to the 17.2 example. This is from the 17.2 homework, the same questions, number 1 and 2, but with different numbers. So number 1, Angelo buys a pair of jeans for $55. He pays 7 cents in sales tax for every dollar of the price. Write an equation to show how to calculate the sales tax on the jeans. So to illustrate this concept, I'm going to draw a table. And so let's say this is my price of the jeans, or whatever it is I'm buying, and this bottom part is the sales tax. Okay, so if the price of something cost only $1, and it says he pays 7 cents in sales tax for every dollar, that means that a $1 item would give me a sales tax of 7 cents. That's 0.07. I know it's hard to read. If I bought something that was $2, I just doubled the price. My taxes would also double too, and that would become 14 cents. If I bought something for $10, it would be 70 cents. If I bought something for $100, it would be $7. Okay? If you look at this pattern, you can see that I'm taking whatever the price is and I'm multiplying it by the sales tax rate of 0.07. Because you pay 7 cents for every dollar. 7 cents can be expressed as 0.07. So what I need to do to find the tax on my $55 pair of jeans is to take my original price, which is $55, and then I multiply that by, just like we see here, by 0.07. Okay? So I'm going to do that now. 55 times 0.07. Now when you have a decimal in your multiplication problem, you can ignore the decimal and then add it at the end. So I'm going to treat this like 55 times 7. So 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 7 is 35 again, plus 3 is 38. Now, I'm going to circle all of the numbers that are after the decimal in my problem. So there's this one, and then there's this one. So I have 2 digits after the decimal in my problem. So now I'm going to put my cursor at the very end here, and then I'm going to move 2 places to the left. 1, 2, boop. So that's my sales tax, $3.85. So that's the equation that they're asking for there. Next problem says Write another equation to show how to calculate the total cost of the jeans. Well, anyone that's been shopping would know that when you go to buy jeans, they add the sales tax at the cash register. Now, we know the original cost of the item. We know how much the tax is. So we just add them together like that. So let's add these together. And remember, you have to line up the decimals. It's not going to look like this. Okay? It's not going to look like this. You have to line up the decimals, and you know this number doesn't have a decimal, but we have to add the decimal to it. Any whole number can have a decimal in it. You just put it at the end. I'm going to make that $55.00 plus $3.85. So now I have 0 plus 5 is 5, 0 plus 8 is 8, 5 plus 3 is 8, 5 plus nothing is 5, and my total cost of those jeans would be $58.85 after tax. So now we have number 2. We're talking about property taxes. The Kleins' home has a value of $240,000. The property tax in their city is $21.30 for every $1,000 of value. Complete the equations to calculate the property tax. Now, the first thing we need to do, notice it says, $21.30 for every $1,000 of value. So, first thing we need to do is figure out how many $1,000, how do I say this? If a $1,000 bill exists, which I don't think it does, how many $1,000 bills would fit into 240,000 is what they're asking. And you can find that by dividing 240,000 by 1,000. So, 240,000 by 1,000. Now there's a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to do long division first. 1,000 goes into 2 0 times. It goes into 24 0 times. It goes into 240 0 times. But 1,000 goes into 2,400 2 times. 2 times 1,000 is 2,000. I subtract and I get 400. Then I bring down the 0. 1,000 goes into 4,000 4 times. 4 times 1,000 is 4,000. I subtract, I get 0, and then I bring down the 0. 1,000 goes into 0 times. Exactly. And then if we finished, we get no remainder. So 240 times. Now I'm going to show you a quicker way, which we've learned before. I think it's worth repeating. $240,000 divided by $1,000. If there are zeros on this side of the bracket and zeros on this side of the bracket, they cancel each other out. It has to be the same number of zeros on either side of the bracket. And as you can see here, there's 3 on the left and 3 on the right, so I can cancel them all out, leaving me with 240 divided by 1, which is 240. Same answer. Okay, so we have that. Now, the tax is $21.30 for every $1,000 in value. So I'm going to make another table here to kind of illustrate what we're supposed to do. So we're going to start out with, let's say you had a home that cost $1,000. That's a very cheap home, and if I divided that by 1,000 like I did here, I would have 1. And here it says the taxes are $21.30 for every 1,000 of the value, so that would be $21.30 property tax on that one. Now, if I had a $10,000 home, maybe a trailer or something, and I divided that by 1,000, I would get 10. And the property tax would be $21.30 for every $1,000 in value. If I calculated it, I get $213. And if I had a $100,000 house, I divided that by 1,000, I would get 100. And I would get $2,130 in taxes that I would have to pay. Now, if you look at the pattern here, after I've divided my property value by $1,000 and I get this number here, all I have to do is multiply that by the $21.30. Okay, that's why we did this here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply 240 times $21.30. Now this has some pretty complicated multiplication here, but I'm going to show you some ways that can make it easier. I'm going to put 2130 on top because it has 3 non-zero digits. Then I'm going to put 240 on the bottom. It has only 2 non-zero digits. Now, I can, for the time being, just ignore this 0. Whenever I have a 0 at the end of a whole number, I can just leave it out and then add it to the answer when I'm done. Now, I have a 0 here as well, but this 0 comes after a decimal. And as we know, any zeros after a decimal don't mean anything. You could add as many zeros as you want. You can take any zeros away. So I'm just going to cut that off right there. So now I have 21.3, and I'll multiply that by 24, and then I'm going to add this 0 at the end. So let me change to a different color. Here we go. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 4 times 2 is 8. Now if I use the Turtlehead method, I'll do this. Put a collar on the turtle, and then the turtle lays an egg. Now I just multiply 213 times 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. I add those together, and I get 2 plus 0 is 2. 5 plus 6 is 11. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. 4 plus 1 is 5. And now I add my 0 at the end. Now I need to figure out where the decimal goes. So there is 1 digit after the decimal right here. So I put my pencil at the end here. Ooh, will it let me do it? And then I go 1 place to the left, and my program's not letting me go that low because it's popping up a menu. But I'll rewrite it up here. 51,120. So I start here, and then I go 1 place to the left because I have 1 number after the decimal in my problem, and I end up with 5,112. So in this case, my taxes would be $5,112, and that's after I figure out how many $1,000 bills is in the cost of my house. And I just multiply that by the rate, which is $21.30 for every 1,000. Okay? So these are my answers for number 2. Now we're going to move on to 17.3. This is 1 through 4. For 17.3, I just changed the numbers with the same question. Here we have another pay stub. We have her Nan Barker. We have her total earnings. We have her taxes here. And we have her pay after taxes here. So, number 1 saying, what is Nan's gross income for the pay period? Well, that's her pay before taxes. So, and it's already written on there, so it's $837. And then it asks, what's Nan's net income pay? That's written on here too. That's $642.35. And number 3 says, Nan is paid twice a month. So she gets this paycheck 2 times in every month. What's Nan's net income for each month? Well, this is her net income for half a month. So to get the net income for the whole month, I can just either add this to itself, or I can just multiply it by 2, because she gets 2 paychecks per month. This is just one of them, so I'm going to multiply that by 2. 5 times 2 is 10, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 6 is 12, and there are, let's see, I'm going to change the color. There are 2 digits after the decimal in my problem, so I'm going to put 2 digits after the decimal in my answer. So I start here, and I go 1, 2, boop. So 1,200 $284.70 is how much she actually makes in a month. All right, so the last question is, describe 2 ways to find the difference between Nan's gross income, that's this, and her net income for the pay period. We discussed this in class. One of the ways you can do it is just by subtracting those. The other way is, the difference between these two things is just the taxes. It's just the taxes. So you can also find that amount by just adding up the taxes, because that's what the difference is between the net and gross income. Okay, so those are the 2 ways, and hopefully this helps.